Judgment Day is here. It's Lucius versus Yuno with plenty of game-changing magical reveals. Black Clover chapter 356 titled Neverland begins with the fated confrontation between Yuno and Lucius Zogratis. After having his kingdom-busting attack repelled by Yuno and his Wizard King level counter, Lucius would admit that the young prince was as strong as expected. Lucius is all about punctuality and timing, so he definitely made that attack to lure Yuno out. But for him to have saved the entire kingdom simultaneously was certainly impressive. However, according to Lucius, that wouldn't be enough to stop them, as shortly after, several winged creatures would make their descent, much to the concern of the Clover Kingdom's mages. As one of the entities came within range, several simultaneous magical assaults of different elemental affinities would be hurled in its direction. However, their combined efforts were easily thwarted by the appropriate counter elements. It was clear to them all that these things have multiple magical attributes and a ton of mana to boot. To offer an explanation would be the roach of the Black Clover world that refuses to stay down, Morris, who's a paladin now. The criminals and renegades of the world have been modified to become its guardian angels, which is absolutely terrifying and terribly flawed, since someone like Morris, the guy with a textbook's worth of crimes against humanity, gets to be a chosen paladin with restored vision in the new world. No way did these unnamed criminals deserve all this. And as we know from Sister Lily's emotional struggle as a paladin, these things must be living a hellish existence indeed. They're angelic terminators intended to keep the world operating according to their master's vision. Each and every one of these things was likely to be around high-grade senior magic knight level. And in the face of this, many would drop to their knees in defeat. A lot of these people had absolutely no faith or hope of their own victory, but not everyone held this bleak outlook. And of the Green Mantis squad, despite his fear, felt that they needed to fight no matter what, that they must protect the people of the Clover Kingdom. I'm guessing he doesn't know his captain got one shot the moment this thing even started. And since he's not Obito, he definitely felt that hole through his torso. Elsewhere, with a similar scene, it would be Soul from the Blue Rose squad. Here she was thoroughly inspired by the likes of Asta and Yuno, who, despite their lower class, never stopped fighting and became much stronger because of it. Just wait till they all see what Asta can do now. Although it might not be much compared to what Yuno has now, but we'll get to that. Right now, Soul insisted on being the very same way, as her Mother Earth spell will be set raging forward. The unfazed Guardian Angel would unleash a concentrated blast of powerful magic that would collide with the Golem's extended fist. And surprisingly, her Golem blocked it. Soul and the others around her couldn't believe it. Her Golem may have lost an arm, but her magic was definitely much stronger out of nowhere. But that's when Soul would notice them, little fairy-looking sprites floating around. This was the work of some incredibly powerful magic distribution. A somewhat familiar yet slightly more mature female voice would express that this was the power of love shared between her and Yuno. This was a massive mana zone, one that could manipulate the flow of time and magic within its space. The magic of their allies would become stronger, while the magic of their enemies would be weakened. This was Star and Wind Spirit Magic Neverland, a kingdom-sized mana zone, the likes of which we've never seen before. Speaking of, Sylph has a brand new, more adult proportioned form. She looks like she's been passed from host to host for generations, like the water spirit Undyne of the Heart Kingdom. Meanwhile, she was in a dungeon for what we can assume to be centuries at least. Yuno really grew her power tremendously by himself. The growth he's seen in just a year is unreal. I mean, even Yami was blown away by it. Meanwhile, his own guild, the Black Bulls, is full of mages who have grown exponentially. This man Yuno is so broken, it's insane. I mean, let's just go through it. 2 Grimoires, Royal Blood, Elf Spirit, Fully Matured Wind Spirit, Wind Magic, Star Magic, Saint Stage Magic, Teleportation, a kingdom-sized simultaneous buff and debuff ability, and even more coming up later in the chapter. Klaus of the Golden Dawn would think back to the early days of the series when Yuno was his junior. Now that Yuno is the captain of the Golden Dawn and has so thoroughly shifted the tone of this battle, Klaus had to admit that Yuno has what it takes to be the Wizard King of the Clover Kingdom. We are really in the endgame here, folks. The dream is really close. And on that note, Asta really needs to pull up, because at this rate, Yuno might just become the most beloved Wizard King of all time. And I've got to be honest guys, this moment for Yuno might just be too compelling for him to not become the Wizard King. Asta may have saved them from that massive ancient demon, but Yuno's protection is a lot more involved. He's giving power to the people and inspiring them instead of quickly swinging his sword and leaving to go to another country. It's not exactly a democratic process, but even with all that we know about these characters that normal civilians don't, Yuno honestly has my vote over our boy Asta. I'm sorry, he's really cool and strong, but Yuno wasn't really written with flaws. All that being said, let's not forget who the main character is. Yuno definitely gets slapped here at some point. As far as we know, this is the final fight, and Lucius is a man of many surprises. Along with the others, Klaus would follow Yuno's lead and resist the invasion of Lucius and his angels. The morale of this conflict has now been restored, as several previously deflated nobles would rise to their feet, newly enriched by this powerful magic. As magic knights, it was their responsibility to fight and defend the people, so that's exactly what they'd all do. But back to the headliners of this conflict, Lucius would suddenly teleport behind Yuno, and just as quickly, he'd use his chronostasis spell on him, what should have been a win condition. After all, the core aspect of his time magic was aging, controlling and speeding up the flow of time. But Yuno is really him, coldly looking over the shoulder he's been using to carry his entire kingdom. Yuno would express that in Neverland, time doesn't pass. This is why Lucius recognized Yuno to be the only one who could pose a threat to his plans. Yuno is a direct counter to his time magic, which Lucius wasn't too happy about. The combination potential of Asta and Yuno here is absolutely insane. But then again, he still has his soul magic. Simply touching Yuno and turning him into a paladin would be an instant game over, and a reason for Asta to take the political lead by finally giving us Asta versus Yuno. But with this, Lucius would recognize Yuno to be his rival with an emotionally inept smile on his face, which was really a distasteful statement Yuno immediately dismissed, as the only man he'd ever considered to be his rival was Asta, who, as far as he knows, Lucius deleted from existence. Meanwhile, Asta's just been getting drunk and bathing with foreign girls, while all his friends mourn him and fight for their lives. And so to avenge his vacationing brother, Yuno would unleash his Spirit Dive transformation and slash the sadistic despot with his Spirit of Zephyr spell. Which is kind of funny when you realize that, to be honest, Lucius was a bit justified in taking out Asta, since Yuno killed Lucius's younger brother Zenon with this exact move. And even if this isn't fatal, Yuno has managed to successfully cut off a large portion of the antler on Lucius's head. Let me know where you think the rest of this fight is gonna go. As always, I'm Slice_Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.